Hello, this is Angela Gartner, editor at Northeast Ohio Parent, and welcome to our 2023 Summer Safety Talk Series. We are here with Heather Trnka, the Injury Prevention Supervisor at Akron Children's Hospital. Hi, Heather. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Angela. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about summer safety.
Good. We are happy to have you here doing this. And this is part one of our series, and we are discussing pool and beach safety. So to start, Heather, how can parents ensure their children are safe at the pools and at the beaches?
I'm excited to talk about water safety. It's one of my favorite topics, mostly because injuries that are related to water are 100% preventable. And so it's important to take into consideration a couple of things to keep our kids safe in and around water. Let's start with swimming pools. So if we have swimming pools in our backyard, whether if they're a baby pool or an in-ground pool or an above-ground pool, we want to make sure that those pools are secure. And so if a child would get out of the house, they wouldn't have access to that water. Baby pools should be emptied after each use. And then big pools, whether in ground or above ground, should have four walled fences around each so that children don't have access to the water. There's so many things that go into water safety, but one of the most important pieces is having a water watcher. And so that our kids aren't swimming by themselves, that there's a dedicated adult who has their eyes on the water the whole time. Because drowning doesn't look like what it does on in the movies where they're splashing around and yelling for help. What really happens is that the children bob right at the surface. They come out of the water and below the water. They're using all of their energy to keep themselves above water. And so it's not as dramatic and can happen really quickly. As quickly as turning around to grab a towel and turning back, a child can drown. And so we want to make sure for our littlest swimmers that we're never more than an arm's length away from them when they're in the pool.
And there is this something about the color of their bathing suit. Can you talk to us a little bit about how a color of a bathing suit can play in pool and beach safety?
Absolutely. So we want to put layers of protection around our kids. So having the water watcher, being an arm's length away, having swimming lessons, using a Coast Guard approved life vest, and then swimsuit color comes into play as well. And so Alive Solutions did a study. They used 14 different colors of swimsuits and found out which ones performed the best. And what they mean by that is which ones could we see at the bottom of the pool? 18 inches of water. Most swimsuits almost completely disappear when we're 18 inches below the water in a lake, at the ocean. And it appears like a pile of leaves, but some colors did better than others. Now, blue and white almost completely disappeared, especially in a swimming pool. And then the colors that we would assume did well are those bright neon colors. So neon pink, neon purple, neon yellow, neon green. Those were great colors. They were able to see more or further than they could those blue and whites that almost disappeared.
And does that play a factor when you're also doing the water watching as well, when they're
Yeah,
outside of the pool?
kids disappear quickly. And so, just like we dress our kids in bright colors for crowds to be able to identify our kids, the same thing goes with swimming suits. It makes us, and especially with the rash guards, we can put bright colors on our kids, especially when we're at the beach. We have added factors that come into play when we talk about beach and water safety, but being able to identify our children quickly, being that arm's length away. Kids who are great swimmers in swimming pools have a hard time sometimes transitioning to the ocean and beach swimming because it's different. So we have drop offs, we have waves, we have rip currents, we have all of these things that come into play that we don't normally have when we're swimming in a swimming pool. So don't assume if your child's a good pool swimmer that they're going to be a great ocean swimmer. It takes a little time for that adjustment.
Well, and there's a lot of different flotation devices and also what they call, I think it's puddle jumpers, and they are very popular among parents. But what shouldn't parents do when using these kind of devices, or should they be using them?
So we want to make sure that a Coast Guard approved life preserver. So puddle jumpers do fit into that category, but there's some mixed reviews on whether or not those are great for the water. But what we want to make sure is that it is a Coast Guard approved life vest. And so it'll have a saying on there that says that it's a tag, it's required. If it doesn't have those, like those inflatable water rings, those don't count. So we want to make sure it's Coast Guard approved. But it does not drown proof your child. So you want to make sure you're still having that water watcher. If they're small, making sure you're an arm's length away from them.
Well, a lot of kids are going to splash pads this summer. So, and while it's a great destination for parents, what can parents and children do to stay safe around those splash pads?
So not all splash pads are created equal. Some have a really nice squishy kind of mat to them, and others have a concrete ground. And so if we're talking about concrete grounds, we want to make sure we're having they have water shoes on. They are still, if they are in if they're still in diapering stages, we want to make sure we have a swim diaper on the children to keep from contaminating the ground around the splash pad. But talk to your kids about the rules, like, no running, making sure that, you don't walk away from the splash pad, that mom and dad always have their eyes on each other. But splash pads are a great alternative for a hot day to cool off if you don't have a swimming pool.
Well, we would like to thank Heather for coming and talking to us today. Look for more tips and view the whole 2023 Safety Talk series on northeastohioparent.com. To learn more about Akron Children's Hospital, visit akronchildrens.org.